Excellent. Okay, so my name is Catherine Burbridge, and I am lead quality, safety, and strategic directions here at Safehaven. And Colette.
Hi, everybody. Thanks once again for the invite. We are very excited to be presenting some of the work that we're doing. My name is Colette Montague. I am the Director of Programs and Professional Practice at Safehaven. My background's almost all pediatric. I would say close to 17 years, 18 years of pediatric, frontline, and in a clinical leadership role at kids for 14 years, and then transitioned into the community, where I did start out at Safehaven as a nurse consultant educator, and moved into the director role a few months later at Safehaven. So, Lisa, should we go ahead and get started with our presentation?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, excellent. So, like I said, we're really pleased to be presenting some of the great work that we've been to put out into the community. And it sounds like some of our work is getting out there and people are hearing about it, which is really great. Just sort of starting with our title about sort of the transition of complex care, the pediatric population from acute to community care. One of the big strategic objectives that we are working on. So I'm just going to go through the slides. So we actually did have a video that we wanted to share with you. It was just created in, I believe it was May of this year. Unfortunately, technology has sort of failed us today, so we aren't able to actually hear, you won't be able to actually hear it, but I can most certainly send the PowerPoint to this group, and the video is actually embedded into the actual PowerPoint. And sorry, Lee, the file was just too big for us to actually send it to you alone, so hopefully you'll be able to watch that, or you can log on to our website to watch the video there as well too. So just a brief overview of what we're going to be talking about from the agenda. Just a quick introduction to Safehaven, who we are and how we got started, populations that we currently serve, some of our programming, residential respite, and other things that I'll just quickly go over high level. Our plan at a glance, really our strategic plan, and can probably add a few points to that if there are. I will be focusing on two of our major objectives that are related to this presentation, but if there are questions, by all means, please, about our other objectives, please let us know. And then just talking about some of the transition programs and opportunities and discussions that we're actually having right now within the community with our partners. So, for those of you who do or do not know, but Safehaven actually started about 25, 26 years ago, grassroots organization by a group of families that were responding to a crisis of looking after these pediatric clients.
You kind of cut out there a little bit, just for, so I'm not sure if.
Okay.
Maybe just go back slightly.
Okay, so I'm not sure how much.
Oh, it was just now. So you said you're a grassroots organization. You were, you've been around for 20-some years, but then
okay, okay, great. Sorry about that. So just definitely tell me. So grassroots organization that was established by families within the community who were caring for these their children 24/7 with these complex care medical needs. But there was just nowhere for them to go. There wasn't a pediatric organization or a place for them to have breaks or to even have residential placement should they no longer be able to care for their kids 24/7 the way they were. So since 1989, we've been providing care and support to these children and youth with developmental disabilities and complex medical needs. So I would say over the 25 years, we've probably seen 2,000 or cared for 2,000 plus families, and definitely growing with those numbers. Safehaven actually does have 5 locations across the greater Toronto area. One of them being in North York, which is a residential home. So 4 out of the 5 homes are residential bungalow homes where clients actually live. And we do have a few beds within 3 of those 4 homes. The 5th home in the Toronto area, right in sort of the core of the city, Lauren Dufferin area, is our admin office, and on the second level is our respite area. We actually just this year have been granted to increase our capacity for respite beds. We were actually seeing and supporting 11 children, but funded only for 7 of those beds. But we have now increased our capacity to be able to serve up to 15 respite children at one time, just working really hard with the ministry to help fund those extra 4 beds, we'd hope within the next year or so. We also have a location in Etobicoke, which is about 15 minutes from our admin Bloor office. And then we also have a home in Aurora. And that home is strictly for adults. Pediatrics in the interim, we've actually, and you'll see later down in the slide, which I'll talk a little bit more just about our transition from 18 and up as part of one of our objectives. I'll go a little bit more into that into the slide a little later. Woodbridge is our home in Vaughan. It's a blended model, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as well too. That's a residential home that also offers respite. So just about the population that we do serve. So obviously one of our mandates for Safehaven was that we don't shy away from the complexity of the kids that we see. I guess how we look at it is the more complexity, the more challenging, the more that we welcome it. So we are serving children with cognitive disabilities, children who may need who are technology or have life-saving equipment, seizure management, stomas, ostomies, those special lines, PICC lines, catheterizations, tracheostomies, or oxygen inhalations, tubes. And some children with some behaviors, it depends on the behavior and the plan that's implemented. As you can see, many of our clients are, the fragility of our clients is extremely high in that if we are caring for kids with behaviors, there is that potential, that risk that those behaviors might be more aggressive that we can handle, and it could put those children probably at a higher risk just for their safety. But we work on those children, but it's based on assessment and working with the families and the coordinators out in the community. So we actually residential and respite. I'll start with residential first. So like I mentioned, we do have 4 homes within the greater Toronto area that actually have clients that reside there. So I believe all in all right now, we do have 20 to 21 clients that we do care and support for on a 24/7-hour basis that actually live in those homes. It really is an extension of the family home. It's in no way to take away from what the family's already doing. These are the families that, you know, have been doing it for many, many years and just simply cannot continue to do it. And we're looking for that sort of stream into the family rather than just, our families are very involved with kids that live at the home. They still visit, they still take them out, they provide that, they provide the guidance and the accompaniment to appointments. They're part of our family-centered with meetings, interdisciplinary team meetings. So it really is just an extension. We're just providing that care and support for the families that are simply not able to do it anymore. So within our respite services, definitely, I would say a huge part of our bread and butter of this organization, 24/7 operation. We do provide short breaks to families and guardians and primary caregivers of those children that they look after 24/7. Within our respite programming, we do have respite beds within Woodbridge and our obviously our respite building at Bloor and Dufferin, which we can go up to, like I said, 15 beds, but our funding only 7. I think our busiest times of the years are usually during the summer when the kids are out. And just so you know, as these kids come in, or if they live with us, we do our very best to include them into social events. We want them to feel as if they're living like any other child or any other client. Even though they have the medical complexities and the cognitive disabilities, we want them to make them feel included within what's going on into the community. So they do attend school throughout the year, or they do have, they go to appointments, or they do have occupational therapy that come into the home. We do a whole lot of events throughout the year. We actually do have a rec coordinator part-time who works within our organization to basically, she's our fun creator for the organization, for the clients. We've had many outings throughout the community, invited to the ACC for box events through the Raptors game, Maple Leafs, concerts. We get donated tickets all the time, Blue Jays games. So we do try and feel as included as possible into the community and make it feel like they're like no other child. So some of our outcomes that we definitely see with the respite services is that the families actually tell us that they do feel recharged. They feel like there is a break when they come to Safehaven because of the care that we're providing. And I'll talk a little bit more about sort of our care model and our education in the next few slides. It actually enables families to focus on themselves, get back to focusing on those other siblings that they don't mean to. Obviously, the complexity of those kids that they're caring for at home can sometimes take away from that. Also, the outcome from the client's perspective, who've actually, because we do have a few verbal clients as well too, but from the families that say it's meaningful for them, they're happy. Isn't quite the disruption from home to Safehaven and back. They see a flow, opportunities for learning, growth, and development, and definitely the integration of social inclusion and the fun that we're creating within the community, and also just the quality of life, being able to get out, see other people, and see that they're not the only ones. So just our plan at a glance, very high level. In 2017, we got together as a leadership team to reorganize our strategic plan. Safehaven hadn't had one for many years. We implemented this in 2017, 2022, came up with 5 very strong strategic objectives. The 2 that I will be focusing on is strengthening bonds with clients, families, and partners, and expand innovative programs and service offerings, which I'll talk about in the next couple of slides. If there are questions about the other 3 strategic objectives, please feel free to ask me at the end. I just know that with timing, I didn't want to indulge into a whole sort of sector about what the other objectives are as important as they are. Just wanted to quickly go over our values. So we came together as a leadership team, came up with the strategic objective, talked to our stakeholders, asked for feedback from our partner, our staff, and we came up with these values, or what we call our promises, that we actually have our staff uphold as a leadership team, as staff, and to make sure that the families know that these 6 values at the bottom, quality, focus, safety, client and family-centered care, respectful interactions, accountability, and T values is actually what we every day must live up to in order for Safehaven to be who they are. Okay, so the first strategic objective that I wanted to just go over that relates to sort of the transitioning of acute to community is expanding innovative program and servicing. So within this particular objective, we actually started this almost immediately back in 2016. And when I came in, we started to look at how do we actually start to look at bringing more complexity of care for those clients. The one thing that with the leadership team that that I started with. And just to sort of give you a little bit of history back there, but in 2016, the leadership administration teams did a bit of a turnover. So there was a new turnover of a CEO. 6 months later, I came in and started to look at sort of the needs assessment. How do we start bringing in more complex care clients? So that's when I started to look and see that there needed to be a little bit more education, a little bit more development with the staff about caring for these kids. So we did start looking at education staff before we could start bringing those in. And then we started looking at partnering with some of our community partners. In 2016, in January of 2016, when the new CEO, Susan Bazillon, came on, she actually started to talk to the community partners, start looking at opportunities for bringing in more complex care clients. And one of those discussions was with Holland Bloorview. And what opportunities can we do to partner to move those clients to Safehaven, Respite, or residential. And so in a couple of slides, I'll talk to you about what we actually started with them. So within it's been our
Oh, you cut out again.
But we were looking at other populations, talk to kids, and we started to.
Catherine, I don't know if other people are having trouble.
Sorry, we started to build. Can you guys hear us?
I'm having a lot of trouble hearing you.
Here.
Is anybody else? Maria?
I can hear them, but it cuts out every once in a while.
Okay.
It's Maria. I can hear you sometimes really clearly, and then other times it's like radio silence.
Yeah, so for the last probably, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds, it was like silence. So maybe, I don't know if you're, can.
The last I heard was that your new CEO had wanted to bring in more complex clients, and that you had, or that there was an acknowledgement of the education that the staff would need. That's the last I heard.
So can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna get a little bit closer to the mic. Maybe that was the issue. So I just left off by saying that yes, the new CEO that came in 2016 started to have conversations within the partners to see how can we partner to care kids. Discussions with Holland Bloorview about putting together a program to transition pediatric clients that have chronic vents and trachs into a resident setting. So we started to work on a proposal with Holland Bloorview and the LHIN. I'm just going to go over to the next slide. Sorry, I'm just going to jump a little bit. So we actually put together a proposal that we were going to submit to the LHIN, work as a collaboration with Holland Bloorview and Safehaven to transition pediatric clients to Safehaven's residential location. So this all started back in 2016, and the proposal was submitted, and we had the go-ahead. So we started to work as an interdisciplinary team to create these individualized care plans for the clients. There were actually a set of clients that we were looking at. So Holland Bloorview, ourselves, and the LHIN started to meet on a regular basis to talk about how can we make this happen. As we recognized that this wasn't really anything that was being done quite yet that we know of in the community in the pediatric stream. We started to work in smaller groups. Took so figure out what supports and are needed to transition these clients safely to Safehaven. And it's been 2 years in the making. There's been a lot of work done. Throughout those 2 years, while we were actually going through these working groups, Safehaven actually going through a transformation themselves. We were renovating all of our homes to upgrade it to meet the standards of quality. And one of the initiatives that we had with this project was renovate a home in which we were bringing these clients to our residential location. And during that renovation stage, we actually invited Holland Bloorview over to have a look and see what supports need in order to meet the needs of these children that were having, that had vents and trachs. So they came over, they provided feedback to us. With those renovations, we had this project in mind. So we actually built and renovated our home around this particular program in order to meet those needs for those clients with vents and trachs. So we've actually been working quite hard with the families, with Holland Bloorview and the LHIN, who's helping us to provide some of the funding in order to transition these clients to a location. We're actually now coming close to hopefully implementing this program with the next few months. It definitely has been an opener for us, and we see a lot of feedback from the community, from sick kids. This is a great program that we're definitely trying to start. The next step after that would also be doing outcome measurements and just evaluate the program to see how it is. From that came further discussions with sick kids and starting to look at some of the long-term vents that they have within their acute setting. We've actually been invited to come to sick kids to talk to the long-term vent team about possibilities and opportunities of transitioning some of those pediatric clients, not just in the acute care setting, but across the province. The LTV team at the kids definitely cares and supports, oversees the care for a lot of the families across the province that come in for their appointments. And feedback from the families that are coming in from the appointments from the sick kids is saying that they don't actually want to be in a hospital waiting for their appointments. They'd love a home setting. They'd love to be able to do something like that. So we are actually having brainstorming sessions with the LTV team at the kids to explore these opportunities in the next week or so. And so we're very excited to see sort of what is actually going to come out of that, considering we are putting this project together with Holland Bloorview. I just wanted to jump back. My apologies for jumping around. I just wanted to talk about the education at Safehaven. Like I stated, I had come into Safehaven in 2016, and it was obviously needed that there was a need for education with staff. So just about our care model, within Safehaven, our care model is 2-1. So 2 clients, 2 residential support work, equivalent to so his frontline staff do look after complex care kids, but again, what we were seeing is that, you know what, we could take on way more complexity. In education, with my background kids, I was able to provide education on catheters, how to care for stomas, which they were already doing, but we actually formalized it so that it was structured and that there was a flow to it, and that they had annual education that they actually had to be examined by myself. I also have a clinical, a client care educator who we've actually just onboarded, and her background is sick kids as well too, and she will be working with me to ensure that that education flows nicely at Safehaven. We actually also do online education with our staff. We partner with Remedy, the pharmacy out here, who helps to provide education for our staff online on medication, customer service, PPE, whatever it is that we're looking for, they're able to help us from an online standpoint. They also offer webinars as well too. The staff also go through education days twice a year, full day education days. And we actually sought out the feedback from the staff to determine what it is that they're looking for. and it has been an overwhelming response from our staff. They want more. So one of the last things that we actually started recently doing was with sick kids in Holland Bloorview. So with this project, with the program coming, being implemented into Safehaven, we knew that we needed a little bit of help with our partners to help with the education with our staff. So we collaborated with sick kids to provide education to our registered practical nurses, because we work with RPNs, not necessarily RNs, but if an RN is needed for a client, we would definitely make that model work. And we've actually had all of our RPN staff attend the connected care module, which was once formerly called the junior tech module. And within those modules, they offer education on G2, lines, ventilators, ostomy, and pulmonary clearance. So all of our RPN staff have actually attended that course, which was fantastic, to sort of give that extra enhanced education so that we can help to look after these complex care kids that are coming to us. And then I just recently partnered with Holland Bloorview as they add in a little bit more detail on the ventilator side. And so our staff has been will be attending classes with Holland Bloorview. We're looking down the line because in the future with Holland Bloorview and sick kids for education. The one thing that did with kids was fairly new, was help to us with the event program being implemented. We also partnered with sick kids with our residential support workers, our PSWs, to actually attend the connected care class to learn about the ventilators and tracheostomies. So this particular course is not the same as the RPNs that would attend because they're regulated workers. This is an unregulated worker module that they redesigned specifically for this particular population. We were actually invited to be the pilot organization to participate, see this is something that is a need out in the community. I had heard about our program and invited us, and we actually sent the first group about a month ago. It went really, really well. We've got great feedback, and we're just looking at future dates coming up in August, and to see whether or not this is something that is needed out in the community. They've been really great and flexible with us, working with us to work around this model and providing that education. So with the program for the event project that we are collaborating with Bloorview, the care model is 2 clients to 1 RPN. Also are providing support with the RSW, who would never necessarily be the primary caregiver for these particular clients, but they would actually provide support to the RPN and on shift. So we're really we're working towards implementing this model, hopefully by the beginning in the next month or 2. Really excited about it, and we really appreciated from sick kids the opportunity to send both our RPNs and our unregulated workers to this program. So I just wanted to go back again, just talking about some of our partners that we have. We are funded by the Ministry of Children and Youth Services and the Ministry of Community and Social Services. We have partnerships with Children in Need, Toronto LHIN, Skylark Youth Services, which also helps to provide support for complex care kids. We also partner in small ways with Emily's House. CAPHC is actually another partner that we actually receive funding for those complex kids in the York region. Sick kids, of course, Holland Bloorview, our local school, Children's Treatment Network, Pediatric Health Centers, Canadian CAPHC, of course, Mackenzie Health for behavioral supports, and really, like I mentioned, for education. And so that is a very high-level overview of some of the services, programming that we're doing at Safehaven. And I wondered if there were any questions right now.
I have a few. It's Maria Steves. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'm Maria Steeds, and I run the pediatric home care program here for the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority. And I'm just really excited, first of all, about your program. Good for you. That sounds really good. We so what we do currently for children who have tracheostomies and are ventilated, and the families need respite, we have nurses that go into the home. So it's really a stretched thin kind of program because, you know, a nurse calls in sick. We don't have someone waiting around to dispatch to the family. But one of the things that we are looking at was we are looking at expanding or working with some of our unregulated care providers. And so one of the things we've tried to impress onto not so much the families, but onto our critical care partners is that the children that we're taking into community, and they seem to be very similar to some of the children that you're taking into your Safehaven program. While they are complex, they're not necessarily sick. This is who they are every day. Every day they have 200 seizures. That's who they are. They can get sick. You know, they can get an ear infection. They can get this and that. But really what we're looking at is how do we sustain our program? Because the reality of providing one-to-one nursing level care for children in 10 or 12 different homes throughout the city per child is very difficult to sustain. So I was curious how the children are screened into Safehaven as opposed to going home to living with their families. And if they choose to go home with their families, how are those children supported? How does that look?
So that's a really good question. Thank you. So I'm going to start sort of with the kids that are already here that are residential. Is that what you're sort of talking about?
Like, I guess my question is, do you have children currently who have tracheostomies or tracheostomies and ventilators who live in their own home, and your respite program goes out to provide respite in the home?
Oh, I see. Okay, sorry about that. So we actually do not have Safehaven staff that go into the home to provide care and support for those clients with trachs or vents yet. Definitely something that we have been approached to do, but we actually wouldn't be able to do that at this moment. The respite services are actually in-house here, and the families come here, and we provide that support with using our RPNs we have within our locations, and they actually come to whatever location is closest to the family or wherever we can accommodate them with respite. Our staff come in to support them with respite care in-house.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So would the children come in like 3 times a week, or do they have to come in and stay overnight, or?
No. So actually with our respite services, it can be day respite or it can be overnight. So we have the ability to provide respite for families if they want 2 weeks. We probably try and do up to about 3 weeks at a time before we have to make it by ministry standards, have to do what we call almost like a residential placement. So they have 28 days that they can do up to in one time, or they can have day respite, or they can have overnight. So we actually have a process with social workers. They send out notices to the family to say, hey, respite for the summer is here. What's your request? Some ask for days, some ask for a week, some ask for 2 weeks. If it's an extended stay, then we do have to negotiate something with the families.
Okay. Thank you. I don't want to monopolize all your question time, but I certainly might shoot you an email afterwards.
Absolutely.
Very, very intriguing, and probably something that we're all facing is how to provide these families with the support in a manner that's sustainable and isn't hyper-medicalized in the community.
Absolutely. I would have to agree. And I mean, community resources are just so different from acute. And with our very small bandwidth, we work with what we have, but we also need those partnerships with the acute care settings in order for some of this to work.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's just a different lens.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions?
It's Lisa, and you may have covered this, and I might have missed it. But when you were talking about the education and sending sort of the non-regulated workers to the connected care to get some training. Was that a special budget set aside? Did you get extra money to do that, or is that it's going to be an ongoing sort of training that they get once a year, or?
That's a really good question again, Lisa. So the connected care class, also formerly called the junior tech module, we actually started sending our RPNs there last year, and we actually had to, there was a cost to it. Mm-hmm. This year, it's actually being, the funding is actually being provided by the Ministry of Health.
Oh, excellent.
So it's actually a private, it's provincially, they're trying to fix the gap with the pediatric stream. They're realizing that within the community, they need these supports. The family needs these supports because the family are the ones who are actually taking care of these children at home. But if there is a need in the community for RPNs or for nursing or for the unregulated workers to help provide further support to the families, that's how this came about. So our unregulated workers were the first to pilot this. There were other, obviously, individuals who were part of this, who were part of the class, but it wasn't for them. It was more of growth and development. For us, it was a purpose. We were actually looking after these kids within our organization. So they heard about our program through Holland Bloorview, and they advocate for us to be part of this pilot project. And from that, to our first group of 4 people, just received in the last few days for me to send 10 more individuals to participate in this program. The only thing about this particular module for the unregulated workers, it's completely different from the RPN. What they do learn in this particular class for the unregulated worker is how to change a trach, how to care for the stoma of a trach, troubleshooting. They actually learn about the vent, basic foundational information of the vent, how to turn it on, the settings. They're not doing anything with the settings, just sort of alarms. Very, very foundational things about the vent, because again, they wouldn't necessarily be the primary caregiver, but they would be there to support the nursing staff that are looking after those kids. They have had feedback from staff that some of it was a little bit overwhelming. So Sick Kids is trying to figure out how to tweak it. I'm not sure sort of what the future of that is, but they do know. I've had many conversations and they're involving me, which is great, that this is something that our organization definitely would benefit from because of what we're trying to do in the community with these clients that have bed and traits.
I would agree. This is Maria again. I would agree. We need to these unregulated workers are not necessarily being trained to be nurses. What they are being trained to is to look after these specific children's needs and the tasks that go with them.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're trying to explain to people. I mean, a nurse, I can take a nurse from this person and send them off to that person or this house. A trained worker knows this specific set of tasks, which can be complex, but there's a specific set of tasks for this specific person or population only.
Yes.
So yeah, that's really exciting to hear that we've got some other people thinking along the same lines.
Absolutely. We don't want to take away from, obviously these clients are, again, complex, life-sustaining equipment, technology dependent. It's that critical thinking piece that will always remain a priority. Those unregulated workers may not have sort of the same critical thinking with the nursing background, but they can definitely do some of the supports because the families are already doing it in the home.
Absolutely, and that's what we've tried to say. Really, it's about when you see this, you do that always, every time. Right? We're not, changing settings. We're not changing meds. When you see, that's really, really exciting, Catherine. Really exciting. We're kind of feeling like we're out here on our own trying to do this, but it's good to know. How exciting!
Great.
I'm wondering if any of our home care folks online have any thoughts around that sort of training model, or if you have any experience around that.
Well, I'm home care, so you've heard my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking. From St. Eliz, if anybody has come across that sort of training. Right, I put them on the spot. Now they're not going to talk to me. So, okay. I was also wondering if you could maybe talk about how you prepare. Like, I think, I mean, just as a parent with kids who don't have any, or actually as a grandparent now, you know, packing kids up to go for a weekend somewhere or a couple of days for, you know, so packing these kids up, and how do you prepare for that sort of transfer from home to respite and then back home again? Or, you know, it seems to me it's a little bit complex too, just even getting everything.
It can be a little bit complex, Lucy, you're right. And with respite, obviously, if coming into, they would have to bring all of their equipment, all of their supplies. That's the piece that makes it maybe probably just a little bit harder on the family. But I think at the end, the outcome reward is the family gets a break.
Yes.
The kids get the break is what the feedback to us is. So when I actually do the assessments for the trachs and the vents with my social workers, and I meet with the family one-on-one, face-to-face. We have a discussion about what supports and cares you need, and we talk about what you need to bring. Honestly, there is absolutely no hesitation. Yep, bring it, no problem. I think that they're just excited to know that there are people out there who help to care for their kids while they can get a break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we actually do have, was it last year, Catherine, last year we created a family handbook, which I'd be happy to share with the group as well too. Yeah, it's on our website as well too, where it breaks down right from residential to respite, what to expect, our leadership team, everything that we sort of do, our intake process. If you wanted to have a peek at it, by all means, please do. And if you had any questions, you can certainly send me an email or Catherine an email.
Great. Any other thoughts or questions out there? Karen or Nasra? I was also, I don't know if, again, if you covered this, in your residential program, I would assume some of the kids would, you know, they're be in some sort of school, have some sort of education thing. Do you have it in-house? Do the kids go out somewhere?
Yeah, so all of our residential clients, minus the one house in Aurora, which is strictly adult, and I really didn't go into a whole lot of detail about that, but our adult house out in Aurora, we do have adults who are over 18. And I'm not sure if I did mention it, but again, this in 2017, we were approved to start and supporting for children 18 and over as one of our strategic objectives that we thought we were going to hit in 2020, but we at 2022 we actually met that objective in 2017. We have been approved by the ministry to start doing that. However, we're still looking at property and looking at how to work respite into that. All of our kids in the other homes actually go out to school. They have a school. So we have schools within our communities that actually can accommodate our kids who require still full care. They do have nurses within the schools who can help facilitate their care while they're in school. That's great. And we work with the LHIN and other agencies out in the community to help provide that further support for them to go to school and be included.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right, and actually, I'm sorry, I just keep having questions. And
yeah, no, by all means.
and again, it might have been an apart. So I didn't quite get your staffing levels or ratios or things like that. What if? Sure,
I can go over that. So our ratio is 2 clients to 1 worker. And the model, so like I said, we're funded by the Ministry of Children and Youth Services and the Ministry of Community Social Services. So the beds are funded based on a 2-to-1 residential support worker / PSW model.
Mhm.
The nursing model is different. It comes from different funding, different ministry funding. That nursing model in Woodbridge was actually, the ministry approached us 4 years ago to see whether or not we can start taking on more complex care children. We took our first complex care child requiring nursing in 2014, and this particular client still resides with us. And the model actually was successful, that we actually took in further kids. And we actually had further funding from one of our partners out in the community, Catalpa, who saw the need within that York region to provide more support for complex care kids requiring nursing. So that Woodbridge home that I'm talking about is a blended model of RPNs and RSW, where there has to be a nurse in that house 24/7 because of the complexity of those kids, work together in a model where RSW and RPNs.
Great.
So that there is sort of a split, that the RNs have a certain skill mix and critical thinking, but the RSWs can help to support the other clients that are not actually requiring nursing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I have recorded this presentation, and we'll put it up on our website, and the links to the video that we were unable to see, unfortunately, at the beginning. And I apologize for any of the technical glitches today and the email kerfuffles. It just hasn't been my day. So if there are no more questions or comments, I'd just like to thank Colette and Catherine so much for this presentation. And anybody has the last word, if anybody else has something to say, please go ahead, and then we'll just sign off.
You'll be hearing from me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for the invitation.